have you write down learning target number 5 is I can calculate the percent of change, or just the percent change sometimes you'll see. Okay. So let's pretend like all of you have $10 in your pocket right now. So you have $10 in your wallet, in your purse, in your phone case, whatever. So you have $10. And then I give you $10. So now you have 20, right? I give you 10. So now you have 20, right? What percent did the amount of money that you have increase by? Stop and just think about it for a minute. You had 10, now you have 20. So what percent, Gage?
100.
Yes. Did everybody hear that? It increased by 100%, guys. Think about that. Because what's 100% of 10? 10, right? If you have all of your $10, it increased by 100%. You increased it by $10, right? So let's take $80. What's 10% of $80? 8, right? So if I give you $8, now you have 88, right? So what was the percent change from 80 to 88? It was a 10% increase, right? Do you understand? So it's kind of like we know how to find a percent of a number and then add it to it, right? But what if I give you how much you had to start and how much you have to end and ask you what percent did it increase by? It was easy for 100. So what if you have $50, but now you have 75? Don't shout it. What percent did your money increase by? Give you a minute to think about it. So what percent did it increase by? You got it, Amir? Want to try? No? Okay. Ryan?
25.
No. Now, I'm actually kind of glad you said that, because 25 has something very important to do with this problem. It's not the answer, but you know what he said? That's a $25 difference, right? Okay? A $25 difference doesn't mean a 25% increase, right? So, what percent did it increase by, Mason?
5%.
Close. We forgot Ryan. 50, right? Okay? So, it increased by $25. And isn't $25 half of 50? So I increased it by 50%. Got it? So I really want you to just kind of think about that as part of it, okay? But I'm really actually super glad Brian said $25. Worked out to be 50%. So I need you to understand one thing first of all. Today, I'm not asking you how much money is it less or more than. I'm asking you what percent it's less or more than, right? Okay? So, let's just start with this. I had $47 in my account before my birthday. And then we all know we get a ton of money on a birthday, right? So cards full, envelopes, money's 20's falling out. So now, in my account, I have $150 after I open up all my cards. I'm not going to ask you how much money did I make. I'm going to ask you by how much did my bank account increase by? What percent did my bank account balance increase by? What percent did my balance? And it's obviously an increase, right? Okay, because we're going to talk about decreases too. Because that 150 is probably going to decrease when he goes and spends it on the things that he wants, right? Increase by. All right. So, it all comes down to a formula. And the formula is kind of simple. And Brian already started us out on it. So, the formula starts first with finding the difference of the money. Okay? So first thing we need to do is figure out the difference. But there's a very specific order that you have to show it in. You have to take the now minus the original. In that order every single time. So, I guess you could look at it as the have now versus the had to start with. Okay? So, I have two numbers to look at. What do I have now? Sometimes you'll also see it as new and original. New, original. So, what do I have now? 150. What did I have to start? 47. So 47 is my original, right? So first thing you need to know is you're taking the new and subtracting the old that you had, okay? So when you do that, what do you get? 103. Yes. So you get 103. Okay. Just like Brian said, you get 25 difference, right? Okay, so now the one more step of what you need to do. You need to take this number and divide it by, isn't that line mean divide? Is it okay that does that line screw you up there? Divide it by the original. So that's going to really mean 103 divided by, and the original is this number in that spot, right? It should be the number in that spot every time. Okay, so now all I do is I take my calculator and I say 103 divided by 47, and then I stop. Whoops, what did I do? 103 divided by 47. Yeah, okay, that's better. I must have had something in it to begin with. So I'm kind of looking at this thinking, what is this? I'm asking you to find the percent increase, but that says 2.19, and what does that mean, James? Yes. So I'm going to kind of give you a shortcut that you didn't really need to use before. If you multiply something by 100, won't you get the percent? So that's 219%. I'm going to let you round to the nearest whole number. So it increased by 219%. Okay? Let's do this problem. I probably should have started with an easier one. Let's take a look at this one. I had $40. Now I have 48. And some of you may be able to kind of already know the percent because you could take 10% and add it, and I know. But I want to walk you through the formula, okay? Start, go ahead and get a piece of paper out. We're taking some notes. So, watch this. Put this in your paper, please. Number one is subtract. Subtract what? The new minus the old. O-R-I-G-I. I can't write while R-I-G-I while I'm talking. Okay, that's step one. Let's just do it one step at a time because there's really only two steps. Everybody follow me? So let's do it. The hardest part of this problem is figuring out which is the new and which is the original. Think about it. I want you to think about now. NN. New is now. How much do you have now? 48, which means you started with 40, right? So 48 minus 40 is 8. And if you're okay with going right into step number 2, which is divide, you divide that difference by the original. So basically, it's important to set it up correctly because whatever number is there is going to be what you divide by. So I have 8 out of 40, which is the same as 1/5. And if I punch that in my calculator, that will show up, right? So if I punch that in my calculator, 1 divided by 5 gives me that. And here's the deal. Do I need to multiply it by 100 to know what percent that is? No, you know that that's what percent? 20%. If you're a little uncomfortable, you can end every single one of your problems with times 100, times 100. But you should know already. So this answer is a 20%. Now stop right here because I'm going to ask you to either write the word increase or decrease. Did my money increase or did it decrease? Increase. That is your final answer. So, got it? You're going to take the difference and divide it by the original. That's really it. The difference in the two amounts divided by the original, and if you need to, times it by 100, if you think you need to. Many of you will not need to, because you know already that when you look at a calculator, that's what? What percent? 6%. That's 6%. You don't need to multiply it by 100 to know that, right? I taught it you. So if you get this, you know that that's what? Okay, how about this? 7.5%, right? 1, 2. This is 75%. This is 7.5%, right? So maybe you are one who needs to do that. I don't know. Okay? All right. So let's say you got that birthday money and then you go to the mall. So you go to the mall with $150 because that's what your new balance was, right? And when you leave the mall, you have $20 left. That's it. Did some major damage, right? So now this is where it gets a little tricky, but I really want you to just think about this. So first of all, what happened to the amount of money in your wallet? It decreased it, right? It didn't increase. That would be great if we went to the mall, bought items, and left with more money than we had. Like I would live at the mall. But that doesn't happen. Our money decreased. New minus original. I know what you're thinking. That's going to be crazy. Your first instinct, please stop right here and listen if you're not. Your first instinct is always going to be to put the bigger number on the top. I know it is because I know you. But my new amount is what? I have $20 now. And my original amount was what? $150. So I know we haven't learned integers or negatives yet. But could you kind of think about what you would have? Or if not, then you know what? You can use your calculator, but if you think about it, you'll figure it out. It's how much? So I have 20 minus 150, and that's going to pop up on my calculator, and that's really important that you put that number there. So watch that sign. Okay? So I spent $130. But I need to divide that by my original, which actually goes here. Oh, all I have to do now, because this number goes here, is keep that in my calculator. You know what I see so many kids do? Watch. They'll take that. That's already in their calculator. They'll hit clear, and then they'll retype it again. I'm like, it's already on your screen. Just hit divided by. Right? I did it just today. I watched people. Divided by 150. And now, you may want to go ahead and do that just to be on the safe side. And if I'm letting you round, I'm going to have you set your calculator to round so there's no decimals. What percent is that? 87%. But what word do I need to put after it? Decrease. So here's the tricky part, guys. You don't really put that negative in your answer. You make up for that negative by writing the word decrease. Do you got it? Let's talk about a couple more. So let's say at the beginning of the year, I had 25 pencils. Okay, anybody ever stock up on their pencils to get all their stash ready? And usually what happens by the end of the year? Most of them are gone. You might have one or two. So I started with, let's say 32 pencils. Okay? By the end of the year, I only have 8. Okay? And then the question I'm going to ask you is, what was the percent of change? Not how many pencils did you lose or give out. What is the percent of change? Okay. Ready? Step 1, subtract. New amount minus the old amount. I guess you could do it that way. New and original, new, old. What do you have now? Maybe now is a better word. Now you have what? 8. What did you start with? 32. If you are more comfortable with this for right now, using your calculator, you can do 8 minus 32. You know you're going to get a negative number. Put that amount right here and divide it by what? 32. And you have 24. Your difference was 24 over 32. It's already in my calculator. I'm just going to hit this. What percent of the pencils did I lose? So, hold on. 75% what? Decrease. Okay? So, by the end of the year, now you have 8. You started with 32, which means there was a difference of 24 divided by the original. That. You got it? Okay, I'm going to give you one to try on your own. So let's say there were, on December 1st, there were 80 pets at the adoption center. Okay? Christmas presents roll around. We're going to get people some puppies. On January 1st, there were only 52 pets left. Not how many animals were adopted. What percent of the 80 animals were adopted? What percent of the 80 if there's only 52 left? What percent of the animals were adopted? So go ahead and you're going to go through this one completely on your own right now. Okay? So don't always assume that you're doing the big number minus the small number. It's the new minus the old. Is everybody okay with that? So it's always divided by the original. And then as soon as you figure out that, doesn't this pop up on your calculator screen? What does that mean I write? Good. 35% decrease. So right now, I can give you any two numbers I want, and you can find what percent it increased or decreased by, correct? Yeah. And here's here's basically what you do. You, I want you to do this. New minus original, and then we're going to be done. All of that, and I don't want to, I guess, divided by the original. So you really wouldn't want to write it as, I guess you could do it this way. New minus original divided by original. Right? But another way to say new minus original is the difference, right? Wasn't negative 20 or negative 28 the difference? And if you need to, multiply it by 100 to find the percent. Think you got it? Okay. So I'm going to give you independent practice number 5. And independent practice number 5, don't forget, has learning targets 5, which is the current one we just learned, and 4, which is the last one, which is sales tax, and 3, which is solving the equation. Okay? So the first 4, no stories at all. There's nothing behind it. But when you get to 5, 6, 7, and 8, you have 59 pencils. Then you lose some. There were 40 students on the honor roll at the beginning. By the end, there were 76. I wanted to do one more example. Okay, sorry. Last one. Ready? For Christmas, before Christmas, we'll say, you had let's see, we'll say video games. You had 10 video games. Then you ended up getting 12 more. What is the percent of change? Now be very careful, because this is, remember how I always say there's that problem that makes you stop and think? This is like that. This is how many are red, how many are not red. Because if you had 10 and you got 12 more, what's your now number? Not 12, it's what? 22. Do you see 22 anywhere in that problem? No. You have to come to it on your own. So your now number isn't showing. If you had 10 and you got 12 more, then now you have 22. You started with 10. So 12 divided by 10, right? Do you understand? So be very careful, because there are going to be some that you need to hunt for the number to use.